There's something extraordinary that happens when a person makes up their mind. Not halfway, not someday, but right now. The moment you decide what you truly want in life, the fog begins to lift. The distractions, the noise, the uncertainty, all of it starts to fade into the background. You begin to see the path, maybe not the entire journey, but enough to take the next step. That's the power of clarity. Most people don't fail because they lack intelligence, resources, or opportunities. They fail because they're divided inside. One day they want one thing, the next day something else. They live in a world of maybe, someday, and I'll try. But life doesn't move for maybe. Life responds to I will. Clarity is not a luxury. It's the foundation. You cannot build a skyscraper on sand, and you cannot build a wealthy, purposeful life on confusion. The world rewards those who know what they want. When your direction is clear, every step, even the small ones, carry momentum. You stop drifting. You stop comparing. You stop chasing every shiny thing that passes your way. You become anchored. And the universe, God, or whatever force you believe in, begins to align resources, people, and moments in your favor. It's not magic, it's focus. When you are clear, you see opportunities that others overlook because you're no longer scanning the horizon for everything. You're looking for something. So many people think wealth is a mystery, a secret only the privileged few understand. But getting rich, whether in money, purpose, or peace, is brutally simple. Decide what it means for you. Wealth is not one size fits all. For some, it's freedom of time. For others, it's the ability to give generously. For many, it's the peace of knowing they've built something lasting. But until you define it, you'll chase other people's dreams and wonder why your soul feels empty when you finally reach them. Clarity gives direction, but it also gives peace. It quiets the inner conflict that keeps you tired and restless, and you can't drive forward while slamming on the brakes. A double-minded person lives in tension, pulled one way by desire and another by doubt. When Machiavelli wrote about power and success, he understood something most people still miss. Those who win are not necessarily the smartest, strongest, or luckiest. They are the most decisive. They have clarity of purpose. They see their vision so vividly that it becomes unshakable. Others call them ruthless, but in truth, they are simply resolved. They've made peace with their decision, and they no longer entertain alternatives. That level of focus intimidates people who haven't found it yet, but it's available to everyone. You don't need royal blood or perfect timing. You just need the courage to decide and commit. Clarity also exposes what doesn't belong. When you know your destination, it becomes easy to say no. You stop apologizing for protecting your time, your energy, your boundaries. You realize that every yes to distraction is a no to your destiny. The road to wealth is littered with people who tried to please everyone, who said yes to everything, who wanted to be everything to everyone. But clarity narrows your field of vision. You understand that not every door is meant to be opened. Not every opportunity is meant to be taken, and not every opinion deserves your attention. When you have clarity, rejection no longer feels personal. It feels directional. You begin to understand that life closes doors, not to punish you, but to point you where you truly belong. Clarity doesn't always come in a lightning bolt moment. Sometimes it's a process, a refining. You start with a vague picture, and as you take steps, the image sharpens. It's like adjusting the lens of a camera. You turn it little by little, until everything snaps into focus. But you can't find clarity by standing still, waiting for certainty to arrive. You find it by moving, by trying, by learning, by failing forward. Each action gives you feedback, and each mistake teaches you more about who you are and what you're meant to do. The biggest mistake people make is waiting for perfect clarity before they start. But the truth is, clarity is born from motion, not hesitation. There's a reason why people with clear goals seem lucky. They're not lucky, they're aligned. Their focus acts like a magnet. They attract the right circumstances because they're tuned to a specific frequency. You can't attract what you're not looking for. You can't recognize opportunity if you haven't defined what it looks like. When you walk into a room with clarity, you carry an invisible authority. People sense it. They feel your conviction, and conviction commands respect. The uncertain may question you, but deep down they wish they had your certainty. You were not created to live a life of confusion or indecision. You were created with purpose, and clarity is the light that reveals it. It may take courage to cut away the noise, to silence the voices that tell you to play safe or stay small. But the moment you do, everything changes. The fog lifts, the weight of indecision falls away, and what's left is a sense of power, a quiet, steady power that comes from knowing who you are, what you want, and where you're going. Clarity doesn't make the journey easy, but it makes it possible. Because when your mind is clear, your path becomes visible. And when your path is visible, your purpose becomes unstoppable. One of the hardest lessons in life is realizing that emotion, though powerful, is not always your ally. Emotion makes you human, but strategy makes you successful. Feelings can inspire you, but they can also betray you. There's a time to feel and a time to think, a time to act from the heart, and a time to act from wisdom. The reason so many people struggle to build wealth, stability, or legacy is because they let their emotions run their decisions. They chase excitement instead of strategy. They buy when they're hopeful, sell when they're afraid, quit when they're frustrated, and celebrate too early when they get a taste of success. Emotion makes you reactive, but strategy makes you consistent. And consistency, not bursts of passion, is what builds empires. Machiavelli understood this truth centuries ago. He wasn't advocating cruelty for its own sake. He was teaching that leadership, success, and power require clarity of thought, unclouded by the storms of emotion. He knew that emotion changes with the wind. One day you're confident, the next you're doubtful. One moment you're inspired, the next you're overwhelmed. But strategy stands firm. It doesn't depend on how you feel. It depends on what's right. What works, what moves you closer to your goal. When you learn to live by principles instead of moods, you become unshakable. The person ruled by emotion will always be at the mercy of circumstance. But the person ruled by strategy can walk through chaos with calm eyes and steady hands. We live in a world that glorifies feelings. Follow your heart, trust your gut, do what feels right. There's beauty in passion, but passion without direction burns itself out. You can't build a future on feelings that change every hour. There will be days when you don't feel motivated, when you don't feel inspired, when you don't feel like showing up. Those days are the dividing line between the dreamers and the doers. The dreamer waits for emotion to return. The doer keeps moving by strategy. The doer understands that feelings are fleeting, but habits are loyal. Every great success story has moments of boredom, fatigue, and frustration behind it. The people who reach the top, the ones who always feel ready, they're the ones who keep going even when they don't. Emotion loves instant gratification. Strategy plays the long game. Emotion says, I want it now. Strategy says, I'll wait, I'll plan, I'll grow. Emotion spends to feel good. Strategy invests to get better. Emotion reacts to what happens. Strategy creates what happens next. The person who can quiet their emotional impulses gains a kind of power most people never taste. Because while everyone else is chasing pleasure, they're positioning themselves for progress. While others are panicking, they're preparing. While others are talking, they're thinking. That's not cold-hearted, it's disciplined. And discipline is love in action. It's loving your future more than your comfort. It's choosing wisdom over impulse. When you're led by emotion, every obstacle feels personal. Every delay feels like rejection. Every criticism feels like an attack. But when you're guided by strategy, you begin to see these moments for what they are: data. A setback is not the universe saying, stop. It's life saying, just. Emotion takes offense, strategy takes notes. Emotion gets defensive, strategy gets curious. This shift in perspective is what separates those who crumble from those who conquer. Every challenge contains a lesson, but you can't hear it when you're shouting back at life in frustration. Sometimes the most powerful move is to pause, breathe, and think before you act. There's strength in being calm under pressure. Not the kind of calm that pretends nothing's wrong, but the calm that comes from knowing you can handle whatever comes. You've planned, you've prepared, and you trust your process. That's strategic calm. And when others lose their cool, you gain advantage. Because while they're reacting emotionally, you're responding intentionally. The greatest investors, the greatest leaders, the greatest builders, they all share this trait. They're not emotionless. They're emotionally intelligent. They feel deeply but act wisely. They know how to channel emotion into energy without letting it take the wheel. Machiavelli once implied that success belongs to those who understand timing. That's strategy, knowing when to move, when to wait, when to speak, when to stay silent. Emotion says, now. But wisdom says, not yet. Many people lose because they move too fast in excitement or too slow in fear. They marry ideas too quickly, partner with people without discernment, or abandon opportunities because of temporary discomfort. Strategy teaches patience. It reminds you that what's meant for you won't require panic to obtain it. It will require preparation, positioning, and persistence. You can't win life's game if you're playing checkers while life is playing chess. Emotion reacts to the last move, strategy anticipates the next 10. The person who lives strategically doesn't need to be the loudest in the room or the flashiest on the scene. They just need to be consistent. Every step is measured, every decision intentional. They're not trying to prove anything to anyone. They're focused on building something that lasts. Emotion might win the moment, but strategy wins the lifetime. It's not about suppressing your feelings. It's about mastering them. Feel the emotion, but don't let it drive the car. Let wisdom hold the wheel while emotion rides in the back seat. The truth is, every great breakthrough begins when emotion submits to strategy. You might feel tired, angry, or afraid. But if you stay strategic, you stay in motion. If you act only when it feels good, you'll stop every time it gets hard. But if you act from principle, from discipline, from purpose, you'll outlast everyone who started with more enthusiasm, but less direction. There's a quiet strength in choosing to do what's right instead of what feels right. Because what feels right now may cost you what's truly right later. Strategy sees beyond the moment. It sees the mission. And when you can live by that, you stop being tossed by life's storms. You start steering through them. There is a certain quiet wisdom in understanding that success does not arrive in a single moment of brilliance, but through the slow, steady rhythm of persistence. The world celebrates sudden success, overnight fame, and instant results, but the truth is that the foundation of real wealth, financial, spiritual, or personal, is laid one disciplined step at a time. The long game is not glamorous. It doesn't always feel exciting or rewarding. It demands patience in the face of delay and faith in the face of doubt. It requires you to keep moving even when no one is watching, to plant seeds even when the soil looks dry, and to believe in the harvest long before it appears. That's what makes it brutally simple: small, consistent actions done with purpose over time always beat short bursts of emotion and scattered effort. Machiavelli understood this better than most. He observed that those who rise to power and prosperity often do so not through luck or brilliance alone, but through endurance. They keep their eyes fixed on the distant horizon, while others are distracted by the noise of the moment. They think beyond today's comfort, beyond this week's reward, beyond this year's recognition. They understand that the path to greatness is paved with countless ordinary days. Days of showing up, refining, learning, and adjusting. The long game is not about doing everything fast. It's about doing the right things long enough for them to compound. The greatest trap most people fall into is impatience. They mistake slow progress for failure. They plant the seed and expect a tree overnight. They work for a month, a year, maybe two. And when the results don't show, they move on to something else. But the soil of success doesn't reward those who dig up their seeds to check if they're growing. It rewards those who trust the process. Every seed takes time to sprout. Every idea needs nurturing. And every dream requires perseverance. The harvest never comes before the season. You can't rush maturity, and you can't force timing. Playing the long game is about learning to be faithful with what's in your hand until it becomes more. Emotion tempts us to quit too soon. It whispers that it's taking too long, that it's not worth it, that maybe it wasn't meant to be. But strategy, the steady companion of the long game, reminds you that every great thing is built in layers. You don't see the progress at first because the work is happening beneath the surface. The roots are growing stronger, deeper, preparing to hold the weight of what's to come. That's why patience is not weakness, it's wisdom. The impatient may sprint ahead, but the patient will endure. The impatient burn bright and fade quickly. The patient builds slowly and shines steadily. Think about how nature operates. The tallest trees in the forest began as fragile seeds buried in the dirt. No one applauded when they broke through the soil. No one noticed the early growth. But over time, they became impossible to ignore. That's the story of every person who played the long game. They didn't seek validation, they sought mastery. They didn't need to be seen early. They were preparing to be unshakable later. Wealth and success are rarely about one big break. They're about thousands of small, unseen moments of discipline. Every decision to save instead of spend, to work instead of procrastinate, to learn instead of complain. Those moments compound. They don't always shout, they whisper. And over years, those whispers turn into a roar. The long game requires emotional maturity. It means trading short-term pleasure for long-term purpose. It means saying no to things that glitter but don't grow. It's choosing to build instead of chase, to commit instead of hop from one idea to another. It's refusing to let the world's obsession with instant gratification pull you away from your process. The truth is, every shortcut has a cost. What's gained too quickly often fades just as fast. But what's built with patience lasts. The foundation becomes strong enough to hold not just success, but the weight of responsibility that comes with it. Machiavelli would say that true power belongs to those who can think ahead, who can see the game several moves beyond the present. That's not just politics, that's life. The long game is strategic living. It's asking, how will this decision affect me in 5 years? In 10 years? It's delaying the need for validation so you can build something of value. It's understanding that what feels slow now will one day feel steady, and what feels hard now will one day feel holy. Every great builder, artist, or entrepreneur learns this truth. There is no fast way to something that lasts. Playing the long game also means learning to be content with progress, not perfection. It means celebrating small victories because they're proof that you're moving in the right direction. Every day you stay consistent, you're laying bricks. You may not see the shape of the house yet, but one day it will stand tall. Consistency is what turns ordinary people into extraordinary achievers. You don't have to be the fastest, the smartest, or the most talented. You just have to outlast the ones who give up. The long game rewards endurance over brilliance, discipline over excitement, and vision over impulse. The world may call it slow, but it's not slow, it's steady. And steady is what wins. It's not the loudest who succeed. It's the ones who refuse to stop when it's silent. Playing the long game means embracing the unseen seasons, trusting that every small effort counts, that every day of faithfulness is building momentum. There's power in the quiet work, in the unseen preparation, in the patience that refuses to break. Because when the moment finally arrives, when the results finally show, everyone else will call it sudden, but you'll know. It wasn't sudden at all. It was years in the making, a result of showing up again and again. Long after emotion had faded and only vision remained. There comes a moment in every person's journey when they realize that not everyone will understand the road they are called to walk. The path to wealth, influence, or greatness is not a crowded one. It is often quiet, narrow, and lonely. To stand out, you must first stand alone. That takes courage, the kind of courage that can't be borrowed from others or found in the noise of approval. It's the courage that comes from within, born out of conviction and faith. The truth is, no one ever built something extraordinary by following the crowd. The crowd moves in comfort. Leaders move in clarity. The crowd wants safety. Leaders want purpose. The crowd seeks validation. Leaders seek vision. And that difference is what separates the ordinary from the exceptional. Machiavelli understood that true leaders often walk alone because they see what others cannot yet see. They make decisions that may seem harsh in the moment but wise in the end. They carry the burden of foresight, of seeing the bigger picture, while everyone else is focused on the present. He knew that leadership requires the ability to act, even when the applause hasn't started, even when the criticism is loud. The courage to stand alone is not arrogance, it's conviction. It's the ability to trust your vision when others doubt it, to keep building when others mock you for it, and to stay faithful when others walk away. It's realizing that loneliness is sometimes the price of leadership. That isolation often precedes elevation. There's something powerful about the moment you stop needing everyone to agree with you. When you stop explaining your dream to those who are committed to misunderstanding it. When you stop seeking permission to become who you were created to be. Most people will never take that step because it feels safer to belong than to build. It feels easier to blend in than to break out. But the problem with fitting in is that you shrink yourself to match the expectations of others. You dull your light so no one feels uncomfortable. You silence your voice so no one feels challenged. And little by little, you lose the very essence of who you are meant to be. The courage to stand alone is the decision to choose purpose over popularity. It's not easy to walk alone. Loneliness can feel like rejection, but often it's redirection. When people fall away, it's not always betrayal. It's preparation. The higher you go, the fewer people can breathe the air with you. The more you grow, the more you'll realize that not everyone is meant to go with you. Some people are seasonal. They were there to teach you, to test you, or to toughen you. But they can't carry the weight of where you're going. It takes strength to release what's familiar so you can embrace what's next. It takes faith to walk into the unknown with no map, only a mission. The courage to stand alone also means being comfortable with being misunderstood. People will question your motives, criticize your methods, and mock your progress. They'll say you've changed, and they'll be right, you have. Growth always looks like rebellion to those who refuse to move. The same people who laugh at you now will quote you later. The same voices that doubted you will one day use your story as an example of perseverance. But you can't live for that. You can't build for validation. You must build because it's in your bones. Because something inside you won't let you settle. You must be willing to be the only one clapping for yourself when no one else sees your effort. Machiavelli taught that leadership demands detachment from the need to be loved. Not because love is bad, but because dependency on it can blind you. When you rely on approval to move forward, you give others control over your destiny. The most powerful people in history were not those who followed consensus, but those who followed conviction. They made decisions rooted in vision, not validation. That's why standing alone is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of maturity. It shows that you've reached a point where your purpose means more than your popularity. You no longer need the comfort of the crowd to confirm your calling. Standing alone builds resilience. It teaches you to hear your own voice again. When the noise fades, you rediscover your strength. You realize that the same solitude that once felt like isolation is actually where clarity lives. In quiet places, vision grows. In lonely seasons, character develops. The silence that used to scare you becomes sacred, because in that space, you stop depending on others to tell you who you are. You start hearing the truth for yourself. That you were made for more. That your difference is not a flaw, it's a design. The world doesn't need more copies. It needs more originals. And originality always requires the courage to be misunderstood. Standing alone also refines your focus. When you're not trying to please everyone, you can finally prioritize what truly matters. You stop spreading yourself thin to meet every expectation and start pouring yourself into what's meaningful. You move from scattered effort to strategic action. You realize that not every opinion deserves your attention, and not every battle deserves your energy. The person who learns to stand alone becomes unshakable because they are no longer built on external approval, but on internal assurance. They've learned that solitude is not the enemy. It's the training ground for strength. The path to wealth and success will always test your independence. There will be moments when your choices won't make sense to anyone else. Moments when you'll have to take a step that no one supports, invest in something no one believes in, or hold faith in something that hasn't yet manifested. But those moments are where transformation happens. Every great builder, leader, or creator has faced that test. The crossroads between comfort and calling. And while most turn back to the crowd, a few keep walking forward, guided by conviction instead of consensus. Those are the ones who change everything, not because they had all the answers, but because they had the courage to stand alone. When you look at the journey as a whole, you begin to see the pattern, the same timeless truth woven through every principle. Getting rich, getting free, getting fulfilled. It's all brutally simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. Clarity gives you direction. Strategy gives you stability. Consistency gives you momentum. Courage gives you separation. Together, they create a life that can not be shaken by circumstance or opinion. The world will always try to complicate success, to make it seem like a secret hidden behind locked doors. But the truth has never changed those who think clearly, act wisely, endure patiently, and walk boldly will always rise above. Wealth isn't just measured in numbers. It's measured in mastery. It's the mastery of your thoughts, your habits, your emotions, your time. It's not about chasing more. It's about becoming more. The rich don't wait for opportunity. They prepare for it. They don't hope for luck. They create alignment. They don't need to be the loudest or the fastest. They simply refuse to stop. And every step they take, every decision they make, every act of quiet discipline compounds into something unstoppable. There will be moments when doubt creeps in, when progress feels invisible, and when standing alone feels unbearable. But those moments are not signs of failure. They're proof that you're still in the game. Every seed takes time to grow, and every vision takes faith to manifest. You are not behind, you are being built. You are not forgotten, you are being formed. The fire you face is not meant to destroy you, it's meant to define you. So decide clearly, think strategically, move patiently, and stand courageously. Refuse to let fear, fatigue, or the opinions of others pull you off course. The world belongs to those who endure, to those who commit long after the excitement fades, to those who dare to keep going when no one else believes. Getting rich is brutally simple because the path has always been the same. Know what you want, stay the course, and never stop becoming the person worthy of the life you desire.